extraordinary career, I suppose, in many ways. I think you were one of the, everybody claims you as being South African all of a sudden, when in the sense of that we don't have that many big stories or famous types that are that emanate from here, or their base was here. So I think it's equally proud. We are as proud of you, I think, as you and your family.
Oh, that's good to hear. Thank you.
But we're here to talk about law, I suppose, and but when I saw the movie last week, it actually left it's one of those few movies that I've seen, certainly in recent times, that actually leaves you with a sense of how hard, in some respects, it may have been to tell the story, because it's a very personal story.
Right.
Was that, besides it being cathartic, I'm sure for you, was it a difficult story to tell?
Well, it's a story that I've long wanted to do for years and years. I've wanted to write about this particular run up to independence and that changeover that happens, and also deal with this the fact that that British expats were so hermetically sealed off from really what was going on, and the putting on of this production of Camelot for the visiting royal was somehow took up more of their energy and concern than the real thing that was going on, which was Swaziland regaining its independence.
Yeah.
So I suppose it seemed both poignant and ridiculous to me. And writing about those people, and I think any group of people in the caught on this sort of historical quicksand where they're overtaken and past their sell-by date is inherently funny. So that juxtaposed against what was going on in my family, dysfunctional family, I thought, which was a good. There were two halves of the same coin, as it were.
And now that it's out, and now that you have an audience, so people have seen it, I mean, is it different for you now in some way?
It's fantastic that it's been successful. After, as it's taken so long to get made as an independent film, the fact that it's been so well received all over the place has made all that worthwhile.
Yeah, because
otherwise it would be terrible.
It seems in a way that it's not to say. I mean, you have a very successful career, but in some respects, when I look at your career, it seems that it's been hard work. Nothing has come easily. I mean, I'm sure even to direct and have this movie released took a lot of you.
Yeah. Well, I think that I don't know who said, Bette Davis or somebody said that just the fact of surviving a career in show business is in itself feels like an achievement, because although from the outside I'm sure it looks like somebody just goes from do re mi one job to another. The reality of actors' lives isn't like that. And even if you look at Tom Cruise, my movie opened in New York on the same day that Mission Impossible did, and he arrived, despite being the world's #1 box office star, the movie costing 100 and something million, mine cost 7 million. He arrived by helicopter, hired a whole subway train, then went on fire engines, closed down Manhattan for half a day. And you think, well, this is somebody still trying to sell a movie. The bottom line, you take all that fancy la-di-do away from it, and that is what he's doing.
Just on a larger scale.
So, I suppose the point is that you never stop having to work at it. You can't take anything for granted. Well, I certainly can't.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you.
Would you like to talk to?
No, nothing, thanks.
But yes, as you say, I mean, the art remains the same, the subject matter will be different, but the end result is the same. I mean, for you, I think just having this film made in itself, as you say, is the fact that it's done, even if nothing more happens with it, that is the success.
Yeah.
Once you've achieved that, then it becomes something else.
Yeah,
it's the same with every role you play. You're as good as your last movie.
Absolutely.
But this in particular, I don't know why I think I was touched by it on a lot of levels. I think a lot of people will be, because I think there's so much of your story.
Right.
There's so many, literally millions of other people's, in many instances. So I think not only do you serve, if anyone could accuse you of being self-indulgent, doing a book on your life, it serves the greater good, doesn't it?
Yeah. I think that, what I was very aware of when I was writing it was that the public face and private show of what goes on in families is universal. So addiction, adultery, divorce, acne, adolescence, amateur dramatics, first love, lost love, unrequited love, loss of a loved one, all of those things. At some stage in people's lives, people are affected by those things. So, I mean, what was extraordinary was to be in the USA and Canada, where there's no immediate colonial connection in the way that there is obviously in England, South Africa, or Australia with this story. And it obviously worked for them and resonated with them. So, and I know that is to do with the fact that it's essentially about family.
It must be fascinating in a way, because people are so different and cultures are so different, as you say. You can have a colonial aspect, the South African aspect, but then you can go to a place as far as Canada and get a response.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure for someone like you, getting that feedback, because you have no way of knowing going in.
No, you don't.
There's no formula. I mean, even taking the Tom Cruise example, there's you can have all the elements of what makes a good story, and yet it either tanks or it won't fly.
Yeah.
There's no rule to say that if you do it this way, it's going to be a success.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, the same must apply to choosing your roles as well. Because again, it would seem to me that the space that you occupy, there's obviously a deep-seated respect for it, but you also not only challenge the roles, but you challenge yourself to play roles that are almost unexpected.
Right. Well, I think the thing is that most anybody who's in the so-called creative arts, as you know, you try not to do stuff that's just a repetition or a clone of what you've done before, and that becomes more of a challenge the longer you're around, because you get pigeonholed, or the screen baggage that you bring with you inevitably affects what kind of parts people think of you for. So, I mean, the departure to write and direct something was an incredible liberation, really, because when you're in charge of that whole process, rather than being a hired hand, is very attractive to have tasted that.
So this is the first of many?
Well, I don't know many, because films take so long. I'm 49 years old, so I can realistically work out how many films at best I could make. But I've worked with Robert Altman 3 times. And he's 82 and he's just directed a new film. So there are role models out there, people doing it into their old age.
And I mean you can argue that you're actually at the in your infancy when it comes to that.
Well, in Hollywood terms, no, very old age. Yeah,
really?
all the young bucks are 25 to 30.
And again, I mean, you're English, you live in England. Yet your roles, I mean, obviously you played in American productions, you played in British productions, you played in a lot of, literally all over the world. Was the choice to stay in England and not, become, not move to LA and almost become, one with the...
Well, you make a choice. I lived there for 2 years, in 1990 to 92, not by design, just by one job leading to another, but unless you... I mean, Charlize Theron and Gary Oldman and Tim Roth have become American. Their nationality has been traded in to become, their screen personas are playing Americans. So, and that's a choice that they've obviously made, and very successfully. It's not something that I ever tried to do, because I don't know. I just cannot imagine ever being believable, or frankly wanting to become an American.
No, exactly.
So I think that's but I hugely respect the careers that they have had as a result of doing that. But I think that's a big. I think it's to do with your identity and who you are, and realistically, I'm not an American by any shape or form, so
You can play it.
I can have a go, but it's not really.
I mean, I think I'm sure you've had fun from day one, but do you feel that you want to say that you've arrived, but in your own personal capacity, that you feel that you've achieved a particular high point in your career? I mean, does this movie give you that in a sense?
Yeah, it's an incredible sense of satisfaction that against all the odds it has been made.
Yeah, I can roll over now and say, okay, I'm finished now, and I'm going to go
Oh no,
watch in the garden.
never feels like that. No, never.
And at the moment, what are you working on?
I just acted in a film with called Penelope with Reese Witherspoon and Christina Ricci, which is an American comedy, plain American, although all shot in London. And I'm about to do a part in a film of Irving Welsh's book Ecstasy, which starts shooting this August. Yeah.
And does it change? I mean, I'm sure people would perceive you, even just in the circle that you keep, and even when you're choosing roles. Does a movie like this make a lot of people sit up and pay attention to you beyond your role?
Yeah. Yeah, because I think that I know from when I published a couple of books 10 years ago that I suppose sideway views how people see you, and certainly writing and directing a movie it's a whole other department, and I don't know, it's difficult to quantify, but I just know that from the reactions that I've got, the kind of work I've been offered, and offered work as a director, that there's a real sea change. But I suppose in 5 years' time I'll be able to look back and see what it has or hasn't really changed or done.
Were you equipped emotionally, I suppose, or even just, I mean, from a qualification point of view, yes, but did you feel equipped to do this movie when the opportunity finally occurred?
Well, I made the opportunity, so that, because it was self-propelled, it was something that I so wanted to do, and have had to push so relentlessly hard to get it made, that by the time we actually started shooting on the 7th of June 2004, I felt as ready as I possibly could be, despite the incompetence and intransigence of the French producer, who nearly scuppered the whole thing just due to lack of proper preparation.
Because, I mean, this was an important story to tell, even if it was just on paper. I think, obviously for you, the passion that drove you.
Well, you've got, if you, I think all first films, you put so much into it because you've got to prove yourself as an untried, untested writer-director. And unless you have a real passion for the story, you couldn't sustain just the sheer slog of day to day, year in, year out for 5 years worth to keep going at it if you didn't really believe in it.
Because, I mean, who would you use in a way to almost benchmark you, or to? I mean, I'm sure your family plays a key role, because, as you say, in this industry being what it is, it can be quite a thankless place in many respects. But how do you, as you do this, that you almost ask the question, is this the right thing to do? Am I doing the right thing? Is this appropriate? Be it a role, be it a movie. Because you can't use the industry or even popular sentiment to give you that, I'm sure.
I suppose, my immediate family is the benchmark.
Yeah,
as you say. Yeah.
And has that been tough, I suppose, over the years? Because you haven't always worked. There were times when you did work that you.
Well, I think because my wife is a dialect coach, and so she's in the industry, but not. She's in the backstage part of it. She absolutely understands what the nature of show business and an actor's life is. So that makes it much easier. And also, unlike actors who are married to actresses, or the other way around, where careers never propel at the same speed or level, we at least are spared that ego yo-yo that goes on in actor-actress relationships.
And as far as roles that you have played, I mean, in the time that you've been in the industry, what besides making your own movie, what has been a particular highlight for you?
God, I don't know. I think more the people that I've worked with and met. I never look back and sort of feel nostalgic about a particular part. More the friendships that I've made with actors, and become best friends with Steve Martin, having worked with him 16 years ago. And another great friend is Bruce Robinson, who I did 2 films with 20 years ago, How to Get Ahead in Advertising, with me and I. So it's the friendships that have come out of work rather than the actual work, because the work you do is for 2 or 3 months at the most. But the friendships are the thing that sustain you.
Yes, I've always maintained that even in my areas, that the relationships are what to me is what is key.
Yeah.
So the rest of it does come and go, but it's the people and what you get from them, and
exactly
what you've given.
Yeah, it's exactly that.
And now that your daughter has a cameo in Wawa as well. In a way, I have a very young 5-year-old son, and I was thinking about that afterwards, thinking it must be, again, you always want to protect your children. You want to make sure that they do well. And I think she played an extraordinary role, I think, in that.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, you would obviously always motivate your children to follow their dreams. Is it quite? I mean, because you've been through the mill, as it were.
Yeah.
To look at your daughter and go, you really don't want that to happen to them, or not.
Well, you try as a parent, but you have no control over that. Really.
Yeah.
You can only nurture and encourage them to the best of your ability, but finally, whether they are motivated or ambitious, that's something that I think is in the DNA of a person. You can't really. You can nudge them along, but people aren't going to do what they don't really want to do if it's not their true passion.
Now, with Wawa, there were diaries. You've always kept a diary.
Yeah.
You still do that now? I mean,
I do, yeah. But I had decided after publishing With Nails 10 years ago that I wouldn't do straightforward film diaries again, because I just thought it would be a repetition of the same thing, although I was asked by publishers every year to do so. I think because what I thought was valid about the first diaries was that you went from an actor who'd never been in a movie before, the process of getting cast, and then ending up in Hollywood working with the directors I worked with. So the reader therefore goes on a journey from the beginning to a kind of logical end. In the same way with the Wawa diaries, this is taking you from somebody who's never written or directed a movie before through the whole process of what is actually involved in making an independent film. So I knew very consciously and had told all the actors and the crew that I was going to publish a diary about the making of the movie. But I keep a diary just as a matter of habit, but not with any intention of publishing another one, because I've now done this movie and I think that
it's done.
That's the story of it.
Yeah. Because I mean, again, to do such a personal movie, or a movie of your life, certainly, you are even more aware of the role or even the characters and the people that the actors that you chose to play those particular roles.
Right.
Where I would think, if you're just taking a script and you're directing it, where there isn't that kind of connection, that you would be maybe less, or you'd be open. Did you find yourself almost insisting that particular characters or particular personalities had to be absolutely, as you could remember them?
Oh no, not at all. I kept all the supporting characters are amalgams and composites of people that I knew and experiences that I had, but I got such an extraordinary bunch of actors that I didn't need to try and impose anything on them, and it was just such a kick for me to see how they interpreted their parts and to help them along the way with background information as much as I could give them. But no, I think that would be then you'd be moving into sort of docudrama territory of trying to be accurate as though it was an historical kind of document, which is not.
And I mean, you again, a wonderful cut. I mean,
Really good.
Again, I think all credit to you. I'm sure, as you, when you choose to work with people or get the opportunity to work with them, it must be great kudos. I think just to you, that these people wanted to work with you.
Yeah, no, couldn't have been better served.
Yeah,
absolutely true.
Because I think as well, you always be your best or your worst critic of your own work.
Absolutely.
When people have, that you've worked with here in particular come along and go, I want to be a part of this. That would be hugely.
It's
as
good as it gets.
Great. I know you've got a very hectic schedule, so I don't want to take up too much more of your time. But to say you've got a busy balance of the year. Is it important to you to try and find a balance between not being consumed by your passion to the point that it feels like a job? How do you for that?
It feels like a job.
Because it's especially perhaps now more so than ever, because there is more work available and there is more to do, and obviously there's greater expectation from you, because as you go, your profile grows, and with that,
it never feels just like a job. I've never. I mean, even if I've been on things that have gone completely AWOL, like the Bruce Willis disaster, Hudson Hawk 16 years ago, I'm always thrilled to be employed, and I've never not got a kick out of meeting new people and going to different places. And there's always something new. As much as you think that you've got a handle on one aspect of show business or the industry or how to perform or direct or write or whatever, there's I think it's a case of, typically as the older you get, the more you learn, the less you know.
And you, I see you're still doing quite a bit of sort of West End.
Yeah, I've just done a play for 160 performances, so that was a long.
Is that like a wake-up call?
Well, no, it was extraordinary to do that after I hadn't done a play for 12 years, so I'd just been offered to do the Monty Python musical Spamalot on Broadway. And I've never done a musical before, and I can't really sing. So, anyway, but they needed takeover in January, so I might do that.
Yeah. I mean, clearly you find yourself doing bigger or doing things perhaps you wouldn't have considered.
Oh yeah, I mean, if opportunities come along, you can't resist. I can't resist them. No, going to the sweetie shop, thinking, well, I'll try that. Have a bit of this. It's fantastic.
As you say, while it's there, you want
absolutely, There'll come a day when you just don't get offers anymore.
But as you say, I mean, I think your body of work, even as it currently stands, if you had to start today, I think you've served not only entertainment in a very big way, but
thank you.
It's been a great pleasure to actually meet you.
Oh, thanks very much.
I'm going to ask if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah, sure.
This is for my dear mum who lives in the town.
All right.
My name's Audrey.
Oh, cheers,
Thank you. When do you return home?
Friday night. I'm going to Joburg tomorrow. There's a premiere screening in Rosebank on Wednesday night, and I'm doing some more TV and radio stuff up there.
Is it great for you now to come back to? I mean, obviously you've come back a number of times, but every time you come back, is it?
Well, I come back at least once a year. I bought a house in Camp Spade, so a regular visitor.
We'll bump into you at Vida or at one of the coffee shops.
Exactly.
Thank you again for your time.
Oh, cheers. Thanks a lot.
Pleasure.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.